Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Charitāmrita class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। Welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Charitamrita overview class. We are discussing from Adi Leela, and we have started the wonderful pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Kaviraj Goswami now in this chapter, 13th chapter, he is giving a synopsis of the entire life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it describes that the whole pastimes of Mahaprabhu, they are divided into two parts, Adi Leela and Shesha Leela. Adi Leela pastimes are the household pastimes. Lord, whatever pastimes he performed as a grihastha, that forms Adi Leela. And then whatever pastimes he performed as a sannyasi, that is called as Shesha Leela. The Shesha Leela is further divided into two parts, the Madhya Leela and the Antya Leela. So the Madhya Leela is the first six chapters of the sannyas, and the later pastimes of the Lord, they are called as the Antya Leela, the remaining 18 years. So that is Antya Leela. So now Kaviraj Goswami is starting the description of the Adi Leela. Adi Leela is comprising of the Kaumara, Pauganda, Kaishor and Yavan. So we have discussed till verse number 30, where Kaviraj Goswami describes how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was teaching. He was a very serious student, and he was having many disciples also. So whatever he would teach, he would connect it to Krishna. And that's how anybody who would study under him, he would become a great devotee. That's how Krishna Varnayati. So one of the very famous verses of Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagyair Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Hi Sumedhasaha. So Krishna Varnam, that means there are two meanings of Krishna Varna we had discussed earlier also. That which is Krishna, but not having the complexion of Krishna or Krishna. Another meaning of Krishna Varnayati is one who is chanting the names of Krishna, or one who is making others chant the name of Krishna. So in all these pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, at present, he is Nimai Pandit. He is making everyone chant the name of Krishna. And we have discussed how Jiva Goswami, Prabhupada writes, Jiva Goswami had written two compilations of grammar, Sanskrit grammar, Laghu Harinamamrit Vyakaran and Brihat Harinamamrit Vyakaran. Anybody who studies these two literatures, they become expert. He becomes expert in the Sanskrit grammar also, and he becomes expert in the science of devotional service also. So therefore, Yar dekho tar kaho kahe Krishna nama bhasaila navadvipa gram. So in this way, whoever he would meet, he would induce him to chant the names of Krishna. Kaha Krishna nam. In this way, he drowned entire Navadvip in the chanting of Hare Krishna. And we discussed the various dvipas, the 9 dvipas of the Navadvip, what all they represent. Every dvipa represents a limb of devotional service, and we discussed the various places which are there. So now in Kaishor, 31st verse describes Kaishor pastime. Just prior to his youthful life, he began the Sankirtan movement. So after he started his school, the Tola, where he would teach, then he began Sankirtan movement. And day and night he was chanting with all the devotees at Srivas Angan. Nagare nagare bhrame koriya, kirtana koriya, bhasaila tribhuvana prema bhakti diya. Nagare nagare, he was roaming from town to town, from one part of the town to another part of the town. He was spreading Sankirtan movement everywhere. Nagare nagare bhrame kirtana koriya. In this way, he was chanting the holy names of the Lord. And bhasaila tribhuvana. In this way, he drowned all the 3 worlds. The entire world was drowned in this Sankirtana movement, Prema Bhakti Diya. So Prabhupada writes a very logical question. One may question, how come Kaviraj Goswami writes that Mahaprabhu drowned all the 3 worlds? All the 3 worlds became inundated. How is this possible? He was just doing Kirtan in Navadvipa. So how come Kaviraj Goswami is telling that he inundated all the 3 worlds? So Prabhupada gives the answer. He says, Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, right? And Bhagavatam describes that entire cosmic manifestation comes from Krishna. From the bodily pores of Krishna, as Mahavishnu, all the universes come out in the seed form. The second canto describes whatever is in this universe, it is all coming from Krishna. Dravya, Kala, cha Karmascha, Swabhava, Jiva Evacha. Vasudevo Paro Anyo, Na Chanyo Arthosti Tattvataha. Na Vasudevo Paro Brahman, Na Chanyo Arthosti Tattvataha. So everything, all the ingredients of this universe, they have come from Vasudeva. So it begins in the seed form. So Lord first sets this creation of the universe in motion. Similarly, Prabhupada writes that this Sankirtan movement was started by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years back. He set it in motion. And now, by the grace of Mahaprabhu, it has spread all over the world by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. Because Mahaprabhu made this prediction, Prithvite Achayata Nagara Digram, Sarvatra Prachara Hoibe Moranam. He made this prediction. So Prabhupada writes that, with the spread of Krishna consciousness movement, ultimately, all the 3 worlds will be merged in the ocean of love. So that's the power of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kaviraj Goswami continues that Mahaprabhu, he lived in Navadvip for 24 years and he induced everyone to chant. Everyone was chanting. And then the remaining Sesha Leela, he describes on 34th verse, he describes the Shesha Leela. So remaining 24 years, Mahaprabhu, he accepted renounced order of life. And then the Sesha Leela is divided into 2 parts, the Madhya Leela and the Antya Leela. So Madhya Leela is the first 6 years of sannyas. In these 6 years of sannyas, first 6 years, he stayed in Nilachal and he distributed love of God. And then he went to various places. He went all the way up to Kanyakumari, Cape Comorin. Then he went to all the way up to Maharashtra, Pandharpur. Then he went back to Navadvip. Jagannath Puri, and then he went to Navadvip also. In this way, he was touring all over the place. So all these activities, they constitute the Madhya Leela. And the Antya Leela is the last 18 years. And in these 18 years, the first of 18 years, he was there in Jagannath Puri. And he was with the devotees, he was chanting and dancing and giving everyone this love of God. He was interacting with people, he was interacting with devotees, he was instructing them. But the last 12 years, he was in seclusion only with selected few devotees. Dvadasha vatsara sesha rahila nilachal premavastha shikhaila aswadana chale. Dvadasha vatsara rahila nilachale. So now, in these last 12 years of his life, he stayed in Nilachal and Prema Avastha Shikhaila. He taught everyone the highest ecstasies of devotional service. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that the highest stage of bhakti is called as Prema Bhakti. And this stage is attained by executing the stage of sadhana bhakti. One should not try to artificially imitate. One cannot try artificially become a prema bhakta. When Prabhupada was there, some devotees started Gopi Bhav Club. And they started having all these, concocted ideas of behaving like gopis and dressing like gopis and then speaking like gopis. Mahaprabhu didn't like it. Mahaprabhu said, this is Sahajiya. And to stop all these Sahajiya mentality, Prabhupada, he started this Bhakti Shastri. Because unless one is fixed in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, one cannot be, aware of what are the various intricacies of devotional service. And therefore, Prabhupada, he wrote Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is the, even more than PhD study. And Srila Prabhupada, he is giving the PhD study to the newcomer in Krishna consciousness. And that's how Prabhupada has written all these books. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, it is for even a neophyte. Prabhupada has such nicely written this book so that even a newcomer can understand Krishna consciousness and advance slowly up to the stage of bhava and prema. At least he can understand what is bhava, what is prema, and he will not become a sahajiya. Because in the 18th chapter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada, he describes what are the reliable symptoms of bhava. Because there are various symptoms of ecstasies, they can be imitated. Shvedakam Paromancha Shru Gadgada Vaivarnya Unmada Vishada Garva Harsha Dainya Eta Bhave Prema Bhakta Ganira Nachaye Premera Anandamrita Sagare Bhasai. So Mahaprabhu, he was drowning everyone and he was showing all the ecstatic emotions. Sweating, trembling, faltering of the voice, tears coming out of eyes, becoming unconscious, so many emotions. But Mahaprabhu knew that now I am dancing and chanting and showing all these ecstatic emotions. People may take it cheaply. People may artificially imitate it. Because these symptoms can be imitated. Even the stage, actors, they can imitate all these behaviors. It is so very easy to imitate them. So Mahaprabhu, as he was dancing and chanting and showing all these ecstatic emotions in Jagannath Puri, he instructed Rupa Goswami. He instructed Sanatan Goswami that you write the principle and the philosophy which is there behind this dancing. It is not just a sentimental dance. And therefore he gave instructions to Rupa Sanatan. Tumi kariho bhakti shastrera prachar, maturaya lupta tirthera kariho uddhar, Brindavane Krishna seva Vaishnava achar, Bhakti smriti shastra kari ha prachar. So he gave instructions that you please write down the literatures of Krishna consciousness, bhakti literatures, so that people don't become Sahajiyas. So therefore, Prabhupada writes one should not imitate artificially the stage of bhakti. One cannot reach the stage of prema bhakti without following this sadhana bhakti. So Prabhupada writes a very important line there. What is prema bhakti? Prem bhakti is the stage of relishing. When you relish Krishna prema, when you relish the devotional service. For pure devotees, bhakti is relishable. Su sukham kartum avyayam. But for sadhana bhaktas, for the practicing devotees, this is the stage of improving. That's the difference between prema bhakti and sadhana bhakti. Prema bhakti is stage of relishing. Like pure devotees, they relish Krishna consciousness. And sadhana bhaktas, they improve by the practice of Krishna consciousness. That's why Bhagavatam is for Nirmatsaranam. Bhagavatam is for everyone, but pure devotees can relish Bhagavatam. For sadhakas, Bhagavatam is like a medicine. For pure devotees, Bhagavatam is like a ripened fruit, which is so very tasty. That's what Rupa Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Syat Krishna Nama Charitapi Sitap. Sorry, he writes in Upadeshamrit, Nectar of Instructions. Syat Krishna Nama Charitapya Sitapya Vidya Pittopataptarasanasya Narochikanu Kintvadarādanu Dinam Khalu Seva Jushta Smadvikramada Bhavati Tadgadmula Hantri. So very systematically, Rupa Goswami is telling that, in the beginning, these holy names, they are like bitter sugarcane juice, because sugarcane juice is sweet, but for a person who is jaundiced, for him it tastes like bitter medicine. But the more one tastes it, the more one relishes it. Of course, patients don't relish the medicine; they just take it to get cured. But when he gets cured, then same sugar cane juice becomes very, very tasty. So Prema Bhakti is stage of relishing, and the Sadhana Bhakti is stage of improving. So therefore, Mahaprabhu personally taught everyone. Apani achari Prabhu shikhaimu sabare. So what else he did there? Ratri divase Krishna viraha spuran unmadera cheshta kore pralapa vachan. Now he is showing all the highest ecstasies of devotional service, highest rasa of bhav and prema which Radharani was experiencing. Unmadera cheshta, sometimes he would become mad, he would cry and talk incoherently like a madman. Pralapa vachan, unmadera cheshta, like kare pralapa vachan. And then Kaviraj Goswami, just like, Radharani, when Uddhavaji went to Vrindavan to pacify all the gopis and Radharani and all the Brajavasis, when Radharani saw Uddhava, she was so absorbed in Krishna, she started talking like a mad woman. Shri Radhara pralapo yeche Uddhava darshane Seimata unmada pralapa kore ratri dine. Just like Radharani was talking incoherently like a mad woman as she met Uddhava. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was behaving like that, just like a madman. Radharani, when she saw Uddhava, suddenly a bumblebee came. And she started talking to that bumblebee. She was saying, oh, just see, I think Krishna has sent you. You are coming from Krishna's side. You have some message for me. You are like your master. You don't stay at one place. And she was chastising that bumblebee. And then bumblebee went away. And then Radharani, she thought, oh, maybe, and she told that your master is a very ungrateful person. He doesn't know how to behave. And she's gave all the strong, chastisement and to that bumblebee. And then Bumblebee went away, and then Radharani was thinking, oh, maybe this Bumblebee has gone to Krishna and he will tell everything, whatever I have told, and Krishna will feel bad. And then she again starts crying. And then again, after some time, Bumblebee comes back. And then she starts again telling, oh, please don't say all this to Krishna. So that's how she was completely mad. So Mahaprabhu was behaving like that. And this situation, Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar Goswami, they were the constant companions of Mahaprabhu. They were pacifying him, and they were reading various scriptures and various literatures compiled by Jayadeva Goswami, Vidyapati, Chandidas, and so many other literatures. They are very, very confidential literatures. Srila Prabhupada, he writes about these three personalities. Who was Vidyapati? So Vidyapati, he appeared just a few hundred years before Mahaprabhu, and he was staying in Mithila. He was a Brahmana from Mithila, and he was serving. He was during the reign of King Shiva Simha and his queen Lakshma Devi. Prabhupada writes all this. And this Vidyapati, he was a great devotee. He appeared in the 14th century of Shaka era. That means around 100 years before Mahaprabhu. And he, whatever songs he wrote, they were full of feelings of separation. Radharani's separation from Krishna, as Krishna went back to Mathura. What are the various feelings of Radharani? So Vidyapati has written all this in great detail. Various bhajans, various songs, very esoteric. Another great poet was Jayadev Goswami, the famous Jayadev Goswami who has written Geet Govinda. In that Geet Govinda, it is a very, very esoteric pastime, very, very esoteric compilation. None of the newcomers should read. And actually, it is very high. Even mature devotees should be careful, because this involves all the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And we all know the one pastime, that one time Jayadev Goswami was sitting in meditation, and in the meditation he saw that Radharani became angry on Krishna, and Krishna is trying to pacify her, and she is in Man Leela. And Krishna is holding the feet of Srimati Radharani. So Jayadev Goswami, he thought, how can I write this? Supreme Lord catching hold of, catching, feet of Srimati Radharani. So he thought, maybe I should go and, I should do my other duties, come back, and then I'll think about it. As he was out, and his wife, Padmavati, she was there at home. She was cooking. So Jayadev Goswami came immediately after 5-10 minutes. And she said, I have some work. So he went inside and he did his work. He came out and then he asked, please give me some food. So Padmavati served him nicely. And then he said, okay, now I have to go for Madhukari. So he left. After half an hour, again Jayadev Goswami came back. And he asked, please give me some prasad. So Padmavati said, Hare, just half an hour you came back. Half an hour back you were there. You came and you took prasad. And he said, no, I have just come. So then Jayadev Goswami, he went inside and he saw that the pastime which he saw in his meditation, it was written on the paper. Then he realized Krishna himself came in the form of Jayadev Goswami and wrote this. That is the personality of Jayadev Goswami. And he was also born during he was also born around 11th or 12th century of Shaka era, 200-300 years before Mahaprabhu. When he was there, there was a very great king called Lakshman Sen. We discussed about Champahati. So in Champahati, there is a wonderful place of Jayadev Goswami. So this comes in the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, that in Champahati, as we discussed, Vrindavan and Navadvip, they're non-different. So there is a grove of Champaklata. Champaklata means one of the 8 gopis. Her grove is there in that Navadvip area. and many champaka trees grow there. So this Jayadeva Goswami, he was staying on the other side of Ganga, and he was doing his bhajan and so many things, and there he wrote Gita Govinda also. So then this king Lakshman Sen, he had his minister called Govardhan Acharya. So this Govardhan Acharya, he was a great devotee, and he would recite so many of the compilations of Jaydev Goswami to this king Lakshman Sen. And hearing those compilations, Lakshman Sen, he became such impressed that he wanted to meet Jaydev Goswami. So he he just wore clothes of a normal citizen, and he went to meet Jaydev Goswami. As a humble person, he didn't come as a royal king. So when Jaydev Goswami asked that, who are you? He said, I'm actually the king of this area, but I have heard your compilations and I'm really impressed and I want to do some service. So when Jaydev Goswami, he heard this, he said, I don't want to associate with you, and you are a Vishay, just like Mahaprabhu, he was chastising, he was not willing to meet Prataprudra Maharaj. Jaydev Goswami was saying to Lakshman, saying, you are a Vishay, you are a king, and I don't want to associate with any of the materialistic people. And because you have come here very strong, he was very strong. He said, because you have come here, you have polluted this place. I will not stay in this place. I will cross Ganga and go to another side of the Ganga. And I'll go to Jagannath Puri. So that's how, scriptures, they are very strong about associating with materialistic people. And when great devotees or Srila Prabhupada or Supreme Lord, they show such extreme behavior. Prataprudra was a great king, great devotee. Lakshman Sen is a great devotee, but Mahaprabhu doesn't want to meet Prataprudra, and Jayadeva Goswami is not willing to talk to Lakshman Sen. That is to tell us the power of materialistic association. Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajanodmukasya param param jigimashor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishainam athayoshitam cha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu. This verse very strongly describes, if somebody is in the path of Bhagavad Bhajan and he wants to break all his knots of material attachment, Nishkinchana, he wants to cross Param Param Jigimasho, he wants to cross this ocean of material existence, Sandarshanam Vishainam. Even darshan of a Vishay is more dangerous than drinking poison, because the poison will kill just one body, but association of a Vishay will kill many bodies, because you have to take many births. So king, when he heard this, he fell at the feet of Lakshman Sen and started crying and begging him, please excuse me for my offense. And if you don't want to come to my kingdom, because this Lakshman Sen wanted that you please come to my kingdom and I'll make you a nice hut, nice place. He said, if you don't want to come to my kingdom, if you don't want to stay with me, no problem, but please don't leave my kingdom. And you want to cross this Ganga, okay, you cross Ganga, you go on the other side of the Ganga, I'll make you a nice hut. Please stay there, but please don't leave my kingdom. And he said, there is a beautiful grove of Champaklata there. Please stay there. My humble request is, please stay there. I'll make you a nice hut. So Jayadeva Goswami, when he heard this, he became very pleased. He said, I was just testing you, and I'll fulfill your desire. I'll accept your offer. So this king built a very nice bhajan kutir for Jayadeva Goswami. And there Jayadeva Goswami and Padmavati, they were living. And every day they would pluck all these champak flowers and they would offer to the deity of Radha Madhav. The same deities which are there now in Jaipur, in Radha Madhav, in that place, I forgot the name. In Jaipur, there is a place where Radha Madhav deities are there. And Jayadeva Goswami was serving the deities. So one day, as Padmavati and Jayadeva Goswami, they are engrossed in their prayers to Supreme Lord. They had a wonderful vision. In that vision, they saw Lord Chaitanya appearing in front of them. And Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he told them that in future I am going to appear in this place. And in that avatar, I will enjoy reading all the wonderful compilations which you have made. I'll read Geet Govinda. So that's how Mahaprabhu is reading all these wonderful compilations of Jayadeva Goswami. And then Mahaprabhu gave them an instruction that I want you to go to Jagannath Puri. And there, please recite all your compilations in front of Lord Jagannath. He'll be very pleased. So, and then Lord disappeared. Jayadeva Goswami and Padmavati, they were so very happy and thrilled by all this experience of having darshan of Lord Mahaprabhu. They fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu, and actually they felt very pained also to hear this instruction, because they didn't want to leave Navadvip. But because Mahaprabhu had given instructions, so they offered obeisances to Mahaprabhu, and with a very heavy heart, they left Navadvip and they departed for Jagannath Puri. And Mahaprabhu promised them that after you give up your body in Jagannath Puri, you will eternally live with me in Sri Navadvip Dham. So that is Jayadeva Goswami. Then the third devotee is Chandidas, another great poet. He was born in a village called Nanur in Birbhum district, and he was born a Brahmana. And it is said that Chandidas and Vidyapati, they were best friends. And because both of their writings, they are full of feelings of separation. And we all know the story of Chandidas also. Chandidas, he was a great devotee of Chandi, Kali. He had a brother. He was a great devotee of Vishnu. Chandidas was very rich Brahman, and his brother was a very poor Brahmana. He had nothing. Every day he was doing Madhukari, and somehow he was maintaining himself. Somehow he would offer every day bhoga to the Lord. Whatever flowers he would get, he would offer to the Lord. One day it so happened, he could not get anything. So he thought, my brother has a beautiful garden of flowers. Let me go and ask some flowers from him for my Lord. So this Chandidas, his brother, he went to Chandidas and he said, can you give me some flowers? Chandidas said, nothing for Vishnu, everything is for my goddess Kali. I'll not give you even a single flower. So his brother became very sad. As he was passing by this beautiful garden, he thought, Lord is Bhavagrahi. Murkho vadati Vishnaya, Brahman vadati Vishnave, Ubhayatu samam punyam Bhavagrahi Janardana. Murkha, illiterate person, when he offers something to Lord, he says Om Vishnaya Namaha. Actually, it should be Om Vishnave Namaha. Brahman vadati Vishnave. Both get the same credit. Ubhayatu samam punyam, because Bhavagrahi Janardana. Krishna is Bhavagrahi. That's why Mahaprabhu was pleased when he went to South India and he saw that old Brahmana reciting, Bhagavad Gita in a very wrong way. He was not even knowing how to recite the verses properly. Ashtadasadhyay pade ananda aveshe, ashuddha pade na loka kare upahas, and people were making fun of him. Keha hase, keha ninde, taha nahi mane. Avishto hoya Gita pade anandit mane. But he was absorbed in reading Bhagavad Gita. Mahaprabhu asked, "Arey, how come you are reading in wrong way?" He said, "Arey, my guru has given me instruction. Shuddha Shuddha Gita padi Guru Ragya mani. Then how come you are crying tears of ecstasy?" Mahaprabhu asked him. This Brahmana said, "Look, when I see the front cover page of Bhagavad Gita, I see Krishna holding the chariot, the reins of the chariot of Arjuna. This picture of Krishna holding the reins of Arjuna's chariot tells me so many things about Krishna's wonderful Bhakta Vatsalyata. That is making me cry." प्रभु कहे गीता पाठ है तुम्हारा ही अधिकार, तुम ही तो जानी हसे गीतार अर्थ सार. Mahaprabhu says, you are only qualified to read Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is bhavagrahi. He doesn't see the externals. So as this Brahmana is passing by the beautiful forest of flowers, garden of flowers, he picked up the most beautiful, fragrant, blooming flower and mentally offered to the Lord. And he left. That day it so happened that Chandidas came and he plucked that same flower which his brother had offered to Lord Vishnu, and he offered to his goddess Chandi, Kali. As he offered this flower, goddess Kali appeared in front of him and she said, "I am so very pleased with you. Ask for any benediction." So this Chandidas was surprised. He said, "Arey, I am offering you since so many years, so many offerings. You never appeared. How come today you have appeared?" So Durga Devi, Chandi, she said, "Arey, today you have given me Mahaprasad of my beloved Lord. I am so very pleased." So Chandika said, "Acha, what is that?" Said, "Arey, you the flower which you had offered me, it was offered to Lord Vishnu by your brother mentally." So Chandika was surprised. He asked, "Oh, Vishnu is greater than you?" So Chandil said, "Arey, he is my master. I am his servant. And the servant is pleased when he gets something from the master." So Chandita said, "Oh, then why am I serving you? I should serve Supreme Lord Vishnu, right?" So she said, "Yes, you have all my blessings. Go and serve Lord Vishnu." From then on, he became the devotee of Lord Vishnu. And he started writing beautiful compilations. He became a great devotee. And that's how Mahaprabhu, he was reading all these wonderful pastimes, wonderful compilations. So Prabhupada writes that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he tells that these books written by Vidyapati, Chandidas, Jayadev Goswami, they are meant only for Paramhamsas. They should not be read or discussed by ordinary people. And because Prabhupada writes, mundane people, mundane philosophers, they review these books as full of sensual literature. And reading these books, many people, they become debauchees. They started having illicit affairs. And it leads to atheism. It leads to scandals. So therefore, unless one is purified in his heart, they should not read all these books. Unless we are not sufficiently educated in the kindergarten and the undergraduate study, we should not go to PhD study. Otherwise, it will create havoc in our spiritual life. So therefore, one should not read these pastimes unless he is out of the bodily conception. Because the end result of discussing Rasa Leela should be developing love for Krishna. By reading Rasa Leela, if one develops attraction for the opposite gender, that means he has not read that pastime in pure way. That is the Falastuti of Rasa Leela, right? Vikriditam brajavadhuidam cha Vishnu Shraddhanvito Shrunayadata Varnayedyah Bhakti Haro Bhagavati Pratilabdha Bhavo Riddharogamashu Apahinoti Achirena Dhiraha. If somebody hears or read or recites this wonderful pastime which Krishna has performed with all these gopis in pure consciousness, what will happen? Bhaktim haro bhagavati pratilabdha bhavo. He will attain the pure devotional service unto the Lord. And ridroga mashu apihnoti. This heart, this disease of material enjoyment will be gone. If that is not happening, that means we have not yet become purified. So therefore, Mahaprabhu, he was relishing all these wonderful activities. And in this way, Kaviraj Goswami writes, in this way, Mahaprabhu fulfilled his own desires. That's why Mahaprabhu had come, right? In the 4th chapter, Adi Leela, Kaviraj Goswami describes the confidential reasons for appearance of Lord. 3 reasons: to glorify the Radharani's love, to taste his own sweetness, which Radharani is experiencing, and to understand the pleasure which Radharani is experiencing in his own service. Shri Radhaya Pranay Mahima Kidrisho Vanayeva Swadhyo Yena Adbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiya Saukhyam Chasya Madanubhavata Kidrisho Vetilobha Tadbhavadya Samajani Shachigarbha Sindho Harindo. So all these 3 desires Mahaprabhu fulfilled in all these 12 years. So after describing this, Kaviraj Goswami describes, he tells, Array, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are unlimited. Who can read? Who can write? Who can understand? Ananta Chaitanya Lila Shudra Jivo Haya Kevarnite Pare Taha Vistaro Korea. Array, Ananta Chaitanya Lila pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, they are Ananta. Shudra Jiva, insignificant living entity. How can you understand the unlimited pastimes of the unlimited Lord? Ke varnite pare, and who can describe also? Nobody can describe and nobody can read. Therefore, what I am doing, I am just reading, just giving a synopsis. Sutra gana koriyade apane ananta sahasra vadane te ho nahi payanta. He says, what to speak of me? If Ananta Shesh writes personally the pastimes of the Lord in Sutra, not in detail, in Sutra, he will not even come to an end with his 1,000 mouths. अरे सूत्र में लिखेंगे तो भी नहीं होगा पूरा, with his thousands of mouths. So what to speak of any ordinary jiva? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Leela Adbhut Ananta Brahma Shiva Sheshayar Pai Nahi Anta. Nobody can understand. Even Brahmaji, even Shiva, even Ananta, nobody can understand. Then Kaviraj Goswami again submits his fallen and humble condition, humble position, and he says, you know why I'm writing this Chaitanya Caritāmrta? Please don't blame me as being arrogant. He says, I'm not writing anything on my own. I'm not making up anything. I'm just taking the notes of Swarup Damodar Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami and Murari Gupta. And I am writing all that. He says, in Vrindavan, when Raghunath Das Goswami was reciting Chaitanya Leela, Kaviraj Goswami was hearing it. Teho thoila Raghunath thero kanthe taha kichu eshinulu taha iha vistarilu bhakta gana dilu hei bhete. So this Swarup Damodar Goswami, he knew all the pastimes because he had personally seen. And then by his mercies, Raghunath Das Goswami knew. And when he went to Vrindavan, he was reciting all these pastimes. So Kaviraj Goswami heard this. So he says, I am just writing according to the diary of Swarup Damodar Goswami and Murari Gupta. So Murari Gupta has written all the Adi Leela pastimes in his notes. And Swarup Damodar has written all the Shesha Leela pastimes. So Kaviraj Goswami says, I am just writing a synopsis. I am writing in brief, according to the notes of Swarup Damodar and Murari Gupta. Sei anusare likhi Leela Sutragan Vistari Koriya Chena Taha Dasa Vrindavan. Again, he is telling the name of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Again and again. He cannot stop taking the name of Vrindavan Das Thakur because he is the original Vyas. Krishna. Kaviraj Goswami writes that Krishna's Leela, that is written by Vyasdev. Krishna's Leela's Vyas is Veda Vyas, and Chaitanya Leela Vyasa Vrindavan Das. And the Vyas of Chaitanya Leela is Vrindavan Das. Chaitanya Leela Vyasa Das Vrindavan Madhura Koriya Leela Korila Rachan. He says Vrindavan Das Thakur is the compiler. He is the writer, authorized writer of the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. And he has written it in such a sweet way. Madhura Kariya Leela. Pastimes of Lord Mahaprabhu are already sweet, sweet like nectar. And when it is written by a devotee writes with his own realizations, with his own experiences, and it becomes more sweet. Shukmukad Amrit Dravya Samyutam. That's how these pastimes of Mahaprabhu, they have become even sweeter. Vistari Koriya Chena Taha Dasa Vrindavan. So Das Vrindavan has described in great detail. And whatever he could not describe, because what happened? As Vrindavan Das Thakur started writing this book, Chaitanya Mangal, later became as Chaitanya Bhagavat. It became so voluminous that Vrindavan Das, he thought, already book has become so voluminous, I should not write everything in detail. Grantha Vistar Bhai Chhadiya Yayastan Sei Sthane Kichu Kariba Vyakhyan. Kaviraj Goswami says, out of fear that the book will become too voluminous, Vrindavan Das Thakur didn't write everything. Some places he just gave synopsis. Kaviraj Goswami says, jahan unhone chhod diya, wahan I'll fill that. Sei sthane kichu kariba vyakhyan. So I'll describe those pastimes. I'll just try to fill those places as far as possible. Because when Vrindavan Das Thakur started writing the pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu, because Nityananda Prabhu was the teacher, spiritual master of Vrindavan Das. Nityananda Leela Varnane Hoila Avesh Chaitanya Rasesha Leela Rahila Avashesh Seishab Leela Rashunite Vivaran Vrindavana Vasi Bhaktera Utkantitaman. Kaviraj Goswami tells this in Madhya Leela. In Adi Leela, only 8th chapter. Nityananda Leela Varnane Hoila Avesh. He went into ecstasy. And Chaitanya Shesha Leela Rahila Vashesh. He could not write in detail the Shesha Leela pastimes. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, his book has detailed description of the Adi Leela pastimes. And then Shesha Leela pastimes he has just summarized, not in detail he has written. So therefore, the devotees of Vrindavan, they wanted to hear those pastimes. Saisab Leela Rashunite Bivaran Vrindavana Vasi Bhaktera Utkantitaman. And the devotees of Vrindavan, they wanted to hear. So therefore, they instructed. So they say, Agya Dila More. They instructed me, Kaviraj Goswami is writing. So therefore, he's saying, I'll just try to fill those places according to my capacity. प्रभुर लीलामृत ते हो कैल आस्वादन तार भुक्त शेष किच्छु करिए चरवण. Vrindavan Das Thakur is the original writer who has tasted and relished the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, and whatever has remained, I am just chewing that. Tahar Bhukt Shesh, after he has tasted everything, whatever is remaining, I am just chewing that. That is sufficient for me to drown in that ocean of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Because Mahaprabhu's pastimes are unlimited. Krishna Lila Shatta Krishna Lila Amrita Sar Tara Shatta Shatta Dhar Dasha Dike Bohe Yaha Hoite Sai Chaitanya Lila Hoye Sarovar Akshay Manohamsa Chara Hata Hate. The pastimes of Krishna, they are like the rivers of nectar flowing in all the 10 directions. And Mahaprabhu's pastimes, they are like a reservoir, inexhaustible reservoir. So therefore, Kaviraj Goswami is writing, he is trying just the remnants, he's chewing the remnants, he's writing, whatever remnants. So therefore, he says, my dear devotees of Lord Chaitanya, it is not possible to describe the pastimes of the Lord in full. So therefore, first, let me write down the synopsis of the Adi Leela pastimes. Then he begins this Adi Leela pastimes of the Lord. He says, Krishna, to fulfill his desire, so from 52nd verse onwards, 52nd to 62, he describes the appearance of appearance of various devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya. So Kaviraj Goswami continues that Lord Krishna, to fulfill his desire, he decided to appear in this world. And before Lord comes, naturally all his associates have to appear. Lord never comes alone. So he allows all his senior Guru Varga, all his superiors, they descended. His parents, his teachers, everyone. And Kaviraj Goswami says, I cannot describe about every one of them fully because everyone's glories are unlimited. So I'm just mentioning their names. Who all appeared? Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Devi, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Keshav Bharati, Advaita Acharya, Srinivas Pandit, Acharya Ratna, Vidyanidhi, and Haridas Thakur. They are all seniors. They all appeared before Mahaprabhu. Then Kaviraj Goswami describes background of Jagannath Mishra. Who was he? There was a great devotee Brahmana. His name was Upendra Mishra. And he was staying in district of Srihatta. And he was a very scholarly person, he was a rich man. And he was a great devotee also. He was the reservoir of all the good qualities. This Upendra Mishra, he was actually a Gopal named Parjanya in Krishna Leela. And who is Parjanya? He is the grandfather of Krishna. Parjanya. He is the father of Nand Maharaj. So he appeared as Upendra Mishra. And Upendra Mishra, he had 7 very, very qualified saintly sons. They were very influential. Who were they? Kansari, Paramananda, Padmanabha, Saraveshwara, Jagannath, Janardhan, and Trilokyanath. These are the 7 sons of Upendra Mishra. Out of these 7, the 5th one, Jagannath Mishra, he moved from Srihatta and he started staying on the bank of Ganga at Nadia or Navadvip. And this Jagannath Mishra, he was exactly like Purandar. He was embodiment of all the good qualities. He was like Nand Maharaj. He was like Vasudev. He had all the wonderful qualities. And his wife, Srimati Shachi Devi, she was a great, devoted, chaste lady. And the father of Shachi Devi was Nilambar Chakravarti. Who was Nilambar Chakravarti? He was earlier Gargamuni. We know in the 10th canto, Gargacharya comes to do Namakaran Sanskar of Krishna and Balaram, and he predicts, who is this personality? Asanvarna trayo yasya triyugo anuvarnitaha shuklo raktas tatha pita idanim krishnatam gataha. O Nanda Maharaj, this son of yours, he appears in every yuga. Sometimes he appears in white complexion, sometimes in red, sometimes in yellow. And this time he's appeared in black complexion. And who is this yellow complexion? That is Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this Nilambar Chakravarti, he is Gargacharya, Gargamuni himself. And he made predictions about the appearance of a great child. He had a nephew, his name was Jagannath Chakravarti. We had discussed this earlier also. This Jagannath Chakravarti, he was also known as Mamu Thakur because he was the mama of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, mama, mama means maternal uncle. So this Mamu Thakur, he was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. And after the departure of Gadadhar Pandit, this Mamu Thakur became the priest of Tota Gopinath. And then Kaviraj Goswami describes that in Radha Desh, what is this Radha Desh? Radha Desh is the place where Ganga doesn't flow, is not visible. In that Radha Desh, many other devotees appeared. Nityananda Prabhu, Gangadas Pandit, Murari Gupta, and Mukunda. So this is the famous place of Eka Chakra. Radha Desh means Eka Chakra. And Prabhupada writes, besides these, there are two villages, Veerbhadrapur and Veerchandrapur. They are named on the son of Nityananda Prabhu, Veerbhadra. And Prabhupada gives some detail of this Ek Chakra. He says, in the year 1924, a thunderbolt struck this Ek Chakra Gram. There was a temple in Ek Chakra. This temple was personally established by Nityananda Prabhu. Actually, Veerbhadra Goswami, he established this temple. The deity of this temple was established by Nityananda Prabhu. And this deity is called as Bankim Rai. And Prabhupada gives a detail about this temple. On the right side of Bankim Rai, you will find the deity of Janava Devi. And on the left side is Srimati Radharani. And it is said that Nityananda Prabhu entered the body of this deity, Bankim Rai. And the deity of Janava Devi was established after the disappearance of Nityananda Prabhu. Then afterwards, many more deities were installed there. But Bankim Rai is the original deity which is installed by Nityananda Prabhu. And then Prabhupada describes some more details. That on the eastern side of this temple, there is a place called as Kadamba Khandi, which is there on the bank of a river called Yamuna. In this river, Nityananda Prabhu found this deity of Bankim Rai. It was floating. So Nityananda Prabhu, he found this deity and he picked him up and installed him in this temple. And then there is a place nearby which is known as Bhaddapur. In this Bhaddapur village, there is a neem tree. Under this neem tree, a deity of Srimati Radharani was found. And therefore, this deity is known as Bhaddapurera Thakurani, the mistress of Bhaddapur. So this Radharani is installed next to Bankim Rai deity. And then there is another deity of Yogamaya also. Then there is a deity of Lord Shiva also in that temple nearby. And this Hadaya Pandit, who was the father of Nityananda Prabhu, he would worship this deity of Lord Shiva. But now this deity of Lord Shiva is not there. It is missing. At present, there is a deity of Jagannath, which is kept there. So Prabhupada describes about the various temple services. who is running the temple, the management of the temple, and everything. And then Prabhupada describes about this place where Nityanand Prabhu appeared, that is called as Garbhavas. And near Garbhavas, he says there is a Bakula Tala. Bakula Tala is a very interesting tree. What is this Bakula Tala? Bakula Tala means the tree of Bakula. And Nityanand Prabhu and his friends, they would play around this tree. It had two trunks earlier, but the friends of Nityanand Prabhu, they had difficulty jumping from one trunk to another. So Nityanand Prabhu, by his power, he made that two trunks into one. So that is the wonderful pastime of Nityanand Prabhu. So therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says that Lord Krishna, he allowed his countless devotees to appear before his own appearance. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody has any questions? Okay, so there are no questions. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.